Once you've downloaded and installed Spear, you can start analyzing some audio files. Please note that Spear will not analyze any MP3 files. This is because they're compressed and they won't provide accurate analyses. It'll only accept a WAV or an AIF file. If you want to find some samples to analyze, you can always go online, go to freesound.org, and look for some samples. In our case right now, I'm just going to analyze an A played on a B-flat clarinet. All you have to do is drag and drop that audio file into Spear. You don't need to change any of these parameters. The defaults work relatively well. And then click Analyze. It's, as I mentioned in class, this analysis will show you what the partials or the overtones of the audio file in question are. Each of these is a sine wave. As I mentioned before, this is a time domain representation, meaning as the sound evolves over time, these partials may change. This axis right here is frequency. You can hover your mouse over any partial here to see the exact frequency down in this cursor window. It also approximates the note. You can click on these and move them. You can delete them. You can select a region of partials and stretch them up or down. You can select a horizontal region and do any kind of manipulation you like, temporal manipulation to the left or time stretching to the right. You can zoom with these controls down here, zooming out on the horizontal or in the vertical domain. You can hit play by pressing spacebar. This will control the speed of the playback, volume, pitch, and noisiness. You can also, with the pencil tool, you can draw some sine waves. The faster that you move, the darker the line, meaning the louder that particular partial will be. Another very useful tool, if you select a single partial, you can go up to Edit, Invert Selection. This means select everything that's not currently selected. So that will select everything else. You can delete that or manipulate that in any way you want. As you can hear, each of these partials, each of these black lines is simply a sine wave. So Spear is a really amazing application that demonstrates analysis and resynthesis. What we're hearing right now when I hit play is not the clarinet sound itself. It's actually a resynthesis of that sound being played back through a combination of all of these sine waves. If you have a slightly more complex sound, the analysis might be a little bit different, a little bit harder to read and to understand. But it's worth exploring. This sample is a little bit too quiet. But it's worth exploring and playing with different kinds of sounds and experimenting. Experimenting with being able to recognize harmonic and inharmonic spectra, and also manipulating and playing around with the partials. The best way to understand the concept of additive synthesis is really to just work as much as possible with programs like Spear and other additive synth programs that we'll look at a little bit later. If you have any questions about this, please email me. There's some great tutorials on YouTube. I recommend you spend some time with this and just analyze any kind of sound that you'd like to. Generally, if you're analyzing a more complex audio track, like a full orchestra or an ensemble playing, it'll be very hard to distinguish which partial pertains to which instrument. So this usually works better with single samples, single sounds, or timbres that are a little bit less complex. If you were to analyze something that's very noisy, like a cymbal roll or something, you wouldn't get a very accurate analysis. But again, the only way to to really test the limits is to experiment with it. Enjoy.